Please be seated. The court is now back in session. Again, the floor is given to the defense counsel for Nunchia to put further questions to the witness.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one brief follow-up question, Mr. Witness, in respect of C. Maybe in English translation it wasn't completely understood by me, but is it correct that you said that Prak Chun's wife is still alive, and that she was married at the same time as C, the daughter of Sao Pim?
I do not know when she got married, because I didn't see it.
That's fine, Mr. Witness. Talking about Prak Chuk, who was the chairperson of your defense unit, was he Sao Pim's nephew?
Prak Chuk was a distant nephew, not a direct line nephew.
Do you know when Prak Chuk was arrested and where he was arrested?
I do not recall when he was arrested. However, he was arrested in Suong. And in fact, staff of our office was arrested there, and Prak Yut went there in order to resolve a matter. However, it turned out that he himself was arrested, but I cannot recall the date of his arrest. It happened a long time ago.
If the Chamber is interested, document E3/2014 says that Prak Chuk was arrested on the 26th of May 1978, English ERN 01305698. Mr. Witness, one last question about Prak Chuk. Is it correct that Sao Pim trusted Prak Chuk? Is that something that you said to DC Cam?
Yes, that is correct.
A question about the name Prak. Was Sao Pim at one point in time also called Prak, but then not Prak Chun, but Prak Cham, C-H-A-M?
I heard other people said that initially Sao Pim's name was Prak Cham.
Did Sao Pim have a sister who was called Prak Chun, C-H-U-N? Hun.
But
I am not sure about that name, because he was old and only other people would know about their native names. In the village there were his elder siblings and one younger sibling, and I only know these three people. Chun was chief of a cooperative in the district, and another person was a Pratat. I only know these two.
The reason I'm asking about Prak Chun is because you talked about her to the interviewers of DC Cam on English ERN 013 533 78 and 79, and Khmer 013 40578 and 9. You said Sopim's eldest sister was very strict. The people were very much mistreated by her. And you said that even the district governor was afraid of that old woman. Is that something you said about Sopim's sister?
Yes, that is correct.
And that she was in charge of a cooperative called the Kokir Saum Cooperative, KOKIRSAOM.
but
Yes, that is correct. The person was the chief of the Kokisam cooperative.
Before I go to another brother of Sopim, the younger brother, Praktit, one question about, again, another brother of Sopim, who was the district chief of Chlung, Dul, D-U-L. Is that someone you knew?
but
And Dul is in fact a Pratat. His previous name was Dul or Atat Dul.
Then that mystery is solved. Thank you very much for that clarification. And let me ask you some questions about Dul or Praktit. Is it correct? No, let me rephrase. Did you say that Praktit was the chief of the district police of Crouchmar?
He was not chief of police, but he wants to become chief of Kruchma district. And he was chief of that district.
I might have confused that. Indeed, your DC Chem statement, let me refer to the particular page, document E3/10716, English ERN 013 53315 and Khmer 013 40539, where you speak about Sopim's younger brother, Praktit alias Dul. Indeed, you're saying that he was in charge of the Crouchmar district, but was he, after 1979, chairperson of the Svai Theep district police?
បាទគាត់ជាប្រ
Yes, he was chief of Svai Theep district police.
So, is it correct then that he managed to escape to Vietnam at one point in time in May 78?
បាទក្នុងរឿងហ្នឹងកាល
I did not know about what happened in 1978 because at that time I was sent to Saang, Koh Thum, so everybody was separated.
Do you know from when until when Praktit or Dul was the Crouchmar district chief? When did he become that, and when did he stop being the chief of Crouchmar district?
I know that he stopped it when the East Zone people were arrested.
So, to be precise, was he district chief all the way up until May 78?
I cannot recall that detail because people fled and separated when they started the arrest, and I did not know about him.
I understand. As you might know, Crouchmar was liberated already, I believe, in 1970. Was Dul or Praktit Crouchmar district chief from the very beginning, from 1970, or did he become district chief later?
I didn't know when he started doing that work because I arrived there in 1976, and I did not know as from when he began that work.
I understand, but when you arrived in 76, was he already Crouchmar district chief?
Yes.
Do you know anything about events that took place in 1974, September, October 1974, and also in 1975, events about a rebellion of Cham forces and the subsequent crushing of that Cham rebellion in places like Tree Village. Do you know anything about the crushing of the Cham rebellion in Crouchmar?
បាទខ្ញុំ
No, I was not aware of that because I was not there in 1974.
Let me read something to you from a book of an Australian scholar, and I will ask you whether that is something that you heard as well. Mr. President, that is Ben Keenan's book, E3/1593, English ERN 011501139, French 00639-033, and Khmer 006377771. A high-ranking post-79 communist cadre, Hem Samin, Hemsamin, is being interviewed by Kiernan, and this is what this Australian scholar writes, and let me quote. Hem Samin, a Hanoi-trained communist, blames the Zone CPK Secretary So Pim for the first repression of local chams. Quote, "It was he who signed the orders for Phung, P-H-U-O-N-G, to kill the chams in Tri in 1974. He was nasty." End of quote. Phung, we just discussed, the little person on that photo I showed you. Do you know anything about this? Maybe something that you heard after 1979? That So Pim signed the orders for Phung to crush the East Zone Cham Rebellion?
I did not hear or know about that because nobody told me anything about that.
That's no problem. Thank you, Mr. Witness. One or two additional questions in relation to So Pim's brother, younger brother, Dul or Praktit. When you mention him in your DC Cam statement, you mention him in connection with a person named Mao Pok, English ERN 013-53315, Khmer 013-40539. Mao Pok. Who was Mao Pok?
Maybe as for Mao Po, I am not familiar, but there is one person, Mao Po, who was at the staff office. I do not know about this Mao Po.
It's absolutely my mispronunciation. I apologize, Mr. Witness. Maybe I can ask my colleague from the Q-Santan team, national colleague, to read that name, just to make sure that we pronounce it correctly.
Kong Som On, thank you. And the name is Mao Pok. Thank you.
You refer to him in your DC Cam statement, and this is what you said when you talk about Dul, or you said he was also arrested, but he fled into the forest. He fled into the forest with Mao Pok. Can you expand a little bit on that?
I did not know when he fled because we were separated from one another and we did not know which direction everyone went. So nobody knew the details of that matter.
Do you know whether Mao Pok was somehow in charge of Battalion 09?
Yes, I knew that he was at that 09 unit.
កន្លែងនោះពិតជានៅកន្លែងសូន
He was there with that unit.
Do you know whether there were battles or armed clashes between the forces from the center and Battalion 09?
I only heard about it after I fled. I heard people saying that there were clashes between the 09 unit and the center forces. But as I said at the time, I also fled.
Were you yourself involved in the armed clashes between the East Zone forces and the center forces?
At the time, I was not involved, but I was arrested. Then I managed to flee. However, there was a fight that broke out before I could flee.
I will come back to that a bit later, Mr. Witness. Let me finish my questions in relation to East Zone people, people who were in charge of the East Zone. We spoke briefly already about Heng Samrin, who was a high-ranking member of the East Zone military. Did you ever see any meetings between Sao Pim and Heng Samrin?
I cannot recall the specific date, but yes, there was a meeting in a district. That's all I can say, but I did not know the content of that discussion.
Let me ask a general question. You, as a guard of Sao Pim, saw many meetings between Sao Pim and other people. Were you ever at any point in time present during the meetings that Sao Pim had with any ranking East Zone cadre or any ranking leader from the center? Were you ever present in the room? Were you ever able to listen to the conversations that Sao Pim had?
When he attended any meeting, I myself was never present in the meeting because I would stand outside to guard.
And never in time did you accidentally hear what was being said in the room? You were always outside, never hearing ever what was discussed inside?
never did because I was not inside and I always stayed outside, so I could not hear anything.
Heng Samrin had brothers at the time, and I believe, Mr. Witness, you often visited one of his brothers. Is that correct? Did you often visit the house of the zone courier chairperson Heng Sam Kai?
Yes, I visited his house because his house and my office was not far from each other. So I went to visit him and to visit his staff there. And sometimes I went there because other men there knew how to play some musical instruments.
Do you remember ever having had any conversations with Heng Sam Kai?
No, I did not. But I chit-chatted with his bodyguards. I don't think I ever spoke to him in person, but only chit-chatted with the bodyguards of Heng Sam Kai.
Is it correct that you also delivered letters from Sao Pim to Heng Sam Kai?
Yes, but it was for the office staff, not for the chairperson.
Do you know whether it is? Do you know what position Heng Sam Kai had after 1979?
After 1979, he became the provincial governor of Svay Rieng.
Do you know whether he was also a member of the Central Committee of the People's Revolutionary Party of Cambodia?
I do not know his function and position at the time. All I know is that he was the chief of Zone Messenger Unit.
Heng Sam Kai gave an interview to an American journalist who was testified in another case as an expert, an interview in 1981, referred to in his book Brother Enemy, E3/2376, English ERN 001-92440. I will provide the other ERNs shortly, Mr. President. And in this interview, Heng Sam Kai said or told Chanda, and I quote, that it was impossible to overthrow Pol Pot on our own. We had to seek Vietnamese help, end of quote. Is that something that you ever heard, something similar that Heng Sam Kai said, that there was a plan to overthrow Pol Pot, a plan in the East Zone, and that didn't work and Vietnamese help was needed to effectuate that plan?
បាទខ្ញុំឆ្លើយមិនដែលឮផងបាទ
I have never heard of that.
ឮបាទសូមចាំ
That's no problem, Mr. Witness. Just finishing the various divisions or the military structure in the East Zone. Heng Samrin was Division 4 commander. His younger brother, Tal, Thal, was commander of Division 2. Is that correct?
I do not know clearly. All I know is that that Heng Samrin was part of the Division 4. Regarding his younger brother, I do not know in detail what he did because he was in the front and I was at the rear.
The upcoming witness identifies him as Tal. You refer to Division 2 commander as Tat. That's what you say at ERN 013533341 and Khmer 013405556. Does that refresh your memory? Tat, or maybe you meant Tatal?
President, the name in Khmer is Tal, not Tat. Tal.
បាទខ្ញុំមិនបានឮ
Witness, I at the time did not hear of that name. I will not tell the court, testify before the court what I do not know.
Of course, Mr. Witness. One other question about another East Zone division, Division 5. You told the DC Cam interviewer that chairperson of Division 5 was someone named Heng Kim. The upcoming witness is saying that Heng Kim was not family of Heng Samrin. Do you know whether Heng Kim is also family of Heng Samrin, or is that something that you don't know?
I do not know about the relation of that individual with others.
That's no problem. Mr. Witness, is it correct that there were 4 divisions in the East Zone in 1978? Division 2, 3, 4, and 5?
There were 5 divisions in the East, but I do not know all the divisional chiefs, their names, I mean.
I understand. Heng Samrin gave an interview to Ben Kiernan, E3/1568, and on English ERN 00651894, Khmer 0071391, and French 00743368. He talks about the various East Zone divisions. He says zone forces, 3 divisions of 8,000 6,000 and 5,000, total 20,000. Region up to 2 regiments, 15,000. District, 2 companies, 6,000 men. Is that something that you are in a position to somehow confirm, that the strength of the East Zone forces was at least 40,000 troops?
បាទក្នុងកងកម្លាំងកងទ័ពនេះខ្ញុំ
I have no idea how many soldiers there were in the army. I was not so interested about the number of soldiers at the time.
I understand. Are you in a position to say what part of these East Zone forces, or how many East Zone troops were in armed conflict with Center forces at any point in time after 25 May 1978?
I do not know that very clearly.
One last question about the military structure, relating to 2 names. Have you ever heard of someone called Keo Samnang? Keo Samnang, Samnang.
បាទពេលលោក
I did not hear of that name. What is not true will not be certified here.
That's correct, Mr. Witness. One last name, Paul Saroon, who is presently a 2 or 3 star, or maybe even 4-star general in the Cambodian Armed Forces. Paul Saroon, have you heard of that name?
Again, I will tell the court what I know, but not what I don't know. Regarding the name, I did not hear of it, and perhaps the name, there was another name used. I do not know about that.
Let me move on to my next subject, Mr. Witness. On a few occasions in your DC camp statement, you use the word coup d'etat. Let me be specific and read the English ERN 013-53339, Khmer 013-40554. You're talking about Prakchuk, the chairperson of the defense unit, and you say Chuk must have died with him, Sopim. As of dawn, he had not yet come. On that day, they made something like a coup d'etat. They had been arresting for several days already, those arrested being taken unaware.
I guess your questions will hinge on the word coup d'etat, so if this is the case, perhaps one should tell him the Khmer word he used, just in case there are various ways to interpret.
My national colleague is sick, so he left.
I believe it's the same word, according to my colleague. French.
Same word? Yeah. That's easy. Let me just, for completeness' sake, refer you to something that you said about coup d'etat on page English ERN 013533376 and Khmer 013405777. You were speaking about drinking habits of Sao Pim. The question is, what kind of alcohol did Sao Pim like? And then you say, whenever that one time when things were difficult, the coup d'etat was being made, and there had been a number of arrests. I saw him, Sao Pim, drink for a number of days, almost a month, downing alcohol by himself, drinking whatever there was to drink, finishing off a whole bottle by himself, as if he was in such difficulty he couldn't think straight. That's a very detailed statement in relation to Sao Pim and the days of the coup d'etat. What exactly did you mean when you talked about coup d'etat?
បាទខ្ញុំចង់និយាយថារដ្ឋប្រហារ
I meant that there was only one party at the time, the Communist Party of Democratic Cambodia, and later on there were arrests, and it was because of that I said there was a coup d'etat and people were killed arbitrarily. I myself did not know the clear definition of coup d'etat. As long as there was a conflict within one unified government, it was considered by me a coup d'etat. I did not know clearly the definition of it.
I understand, but who was it that attempted a coup d'etat? Was it the East Zone forces, or was it what many others from the East Zone say, Pol Pot or Son Sen, who staged a coup d'etat?
Regarding the coup d'etat, the center went to conduct the arrests against the East. The center went to make the arrests in the Southwest and in the East. That is all I know.
Can I just ask a question? Witness, in your opinion, who makes the coup d'etat? The center or somebody against the center?
I was working there. The center went to make the arrest in the East, and the East at the time, people in the East at the time were not aware of the plan to arrest.
Let me move away from people like Heng Samrin or Chia Sim, who were saying that it was Pol Pot indeed who made the stage a coup d'etat. Let me more go to your level in the hierarchy, Mr. Witness, and let me refer to what the upcoming witness to TCW 1070 told DC Cam. English ERN, that's E3/10717, English ERN 013549198. he said, and I quote, "Our Pot, the contemptible Pol Pot, made a coup d'etat and was killing people." So he's saying that it was Pol Pot who staged the coup d'etat. Is there something that you thought was happening as well?
I think that I do not know very clearly who initiated the coup d'etat. All I know is that the center went up to the southwest to wage the arrests, and those who were arrested later on disappeared.
Well, let me be a bit more specific. Mr. Witness, you gave a very long statement about the events between Thursday, 25 May 78 and Saturday, 3 June 78, the day that So Pim committed suicide. I don't have the time to go in all the details, but you said to DC Cam something interesting in relation to this collusion between the East and the Center. English ERN 013533387 and Khmer 013405584. It seems that you witnessed something that So Pim told Heng Samrin, and this is what what happened according to you. And let me read it to you. He, So Pim, met Ta Heng Samrin. Having met him, he stayed there for several nights, upon which he asked, quote, "Tarin, however, many you have got left. Gather them up and go into the forest to struggle. We are to fight again, fighting Khmer again, the Pol Pot Khmer." End of quote. Mr. Witness, is that something you told DC Cam? And can you explain the circumstances during which So Pim said this to Heng Samrin?
It was almost to the end when we were separating from one another. I heard about it, and we left to different places.
But is it something that you heard personally, being So Pim's guard, or is it something that you heard from someone else? Can you tell us, please?
I heard about it. I heard with my own ears at the time, so I am testifying about it now.
And do you know what So Pim meant when he said to Tarin, "Gather them up and go into the forest to struggle. We are to fight again, fighting Khmer again, the Pol Pot Khmer"? What did So Sopim, for instance, mean with them, gather them up? Who are them?
តាមខ្ញុំយល់
It is my understanding that the divisional chiefs and the deputy chiefs remained at that location. He told me about that when he went to Phnom Penh. The soldiers were gathered up in order to go into the forest to initiate the resistance movement. This is what I heard at the time. I went into that location to gather the glasses, what are the glasses, and I heard clearly what he said.
What did you mean with getting the glasses?
He was sitting at a table and there were drinking glasses, and I had to clean the table at the time, clean his desk before he left.
And it was only Sopim and Heng Samrin in the room? Or were there also others?
There were only two of them, he and Heng Samrin.
Heng Samrin, Sopim, as I said, committed suicide on the 3rd of June 78. How many days before Sopim died did Sopim tell Heng Samrin to gather forces and fight Pol Pot?
It was 10 days before he died, or a bit more than that. He left for Araixat at one point in time. I also fled. I remained at one specific location for 3 days, and 7 days later I heard the news that he committed suicide. I cannot recall the exact date when that happened.
Was it during the time that you described in your DC camp statement, and I just read to you, the time that Sopim was continuously drunk? Was that the time that he told Heng Samrin to gather up forces?
Yes, he drank wine. They had a gathering and also they drank wine while talking.
Do you know whether Heng Samrin followed Sopim's order? And if yes, do you know how Heng Samrin implemented that order?
I think just to be fair to the witness before he answers the order, the full quote of the witness should be given to him. On that page, the witness said to DC Cam, he said he was going to Phnom Penh to sort things out. He said, quote, "I'm going to Phnom Penh. if I disappear for just 1 week, you, Rin, go into the forest, gather however many there are left, and go into the forest to struggle. So he indicated if he disappeared in 1 week.
I have no problem with that addition. It was just a shortcut because of time, Mr. President. My question is, do you know whether Heng Samrin followed So Pim's order to gather forces and to fight against Pol Pot?
He was discussing that with Heng Samrin and how the plan was implemented by Heng Samrin was not really known by me.
One last question, Mr. President, if you would allow me, please. Mr. Witness, in discussing a coup d'etat in your DCCAM statement, English ERN 013-53348 and Khmer 013-40560, you said, I did not know about a coup d'etat. I only knew that when they arrested him, they said So Pim was in cahoots with the Yun, that he was in league with the Yun. Who said, or how did you hear that So Pim was in league or in cahoots with the Yun?
During the time of the cooperation with the Vietnamese, it was almost to the end, and during the time, leaflets were also dropped from the aeroplanes. The leaflets were thrown from the airplanes, and people and I got also the leaflets. The leaflet says that So Pim had cooperated with the UN.
Mr. President, I think it's 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Counsel. It is now time for the adjournment. And the Chamber will resume its hearing on Monday, 5th December 2016 at 9 a.m. And next week, the Chamber will resume the testimony of Sun Eung, and the Chamber has also a reserve witness, 1060. The Chamber is grateful to you, Mr. Sun Eung. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has not come to a conclusion yet. You are therefore invited to come and testify to the conclusion on Monday, 5th December 2016 at 9 a.m. And the Duty Council is also invited to be here on Monday next week as well. Court officer, please work with the West Sioux unit to send this witness back to his residence, and please invite him back into the courtroom on Monday next week. Security personnel are instructed to bring Nuon Chien Kiew Sampon back to the detention facility of the ECCC and have them returned into the courtroom on Monday, 5th December 2016 before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.